Well, we are indeed getting into the action here, Wolfie. The pistol round just about to get started. Once again, thank you very much, folks, for your patience. And we were just waiting to get everyone nice and cleanly into the game as well before we got started. So, utility brought up for MIBR. It is relatively offensive with the 2 nades and the Molotov. All makes sense, though, towards an A hit, right? It's very, very telegraphed from our perspective. Meanwhile, Heroic are ready and waiting at the top end of ramp. Cadian with a smoke and a couple flashes. Interestingly, no kit available here. So looking to take the early fights. And, I mean, their positioning speaks to that as well. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath here at the top end of ramp.
Just a matter of when the trigger is pulled on that first burst. Down takes the early contact, a huge Dinkum conversion, but Cadian is quickly there to trade before it all really falls apart for Heroic. Bolts and SHZ, again, 2 critical frags to open things up, and then the intelligence from MIBR to slow things right down. Cadian walks right into the awaiting crosshairs. Dink comes off. He's down to 10 HP as Bolts finds the conversion, and Yell finishes things off with the nade. MIBR, a clinic of a T-side pistol round.
Yeah, I think it's risky for Heroic to play up close. It's well read, but like the Glocks are going to excel there massively. You really cannot afford to miss a single shot. And as soon as you do, there's 2, 3 players peeking you and spamming you down. It just so happens all the shots were clean and really gave Heroic no chance at all. But all the same, really, really solid stuff. No bomb plant required, which is somewhat of a rarity. It's usually what you see on that A bomb site, right? The CTs will just play the retake instead. But not the case in that round. Solid stuff from MIBR, and certainly sending a message at the beginning of Vertigo.
A really clean start, and I think you're absolutely right. Again, keep saying it, keep making good points. He's just setting that message early that we're here to fight again. You know, Overpass wasn't a fluke. We've got the individuals, we've got the firepower, we've got the aim to make this work. As again, they're going to start to queue up over towards this A-bomb site, taking that ramp control away. Of course, this time with significantly more firepower to do so. Need to be a little bit cautious of these Eagles in place. That nade gets caught on the scenery, does nothing at all. Cadian manages to get an opening pick onto SHZ, and now Tess says Eagle in tow could do a lot of work. He's taking tags through the smoke, but the aggression's worked out beautifully. Nico with 2 on the CZ, and Cadian chiming in with 1 more. The MP9 and CZ combo working beautifully on the A-bomb site. There's Cello. Well, we said this round needed to be clean and not too expensive. Now it needs to be salvaged from the ashes. He'll go and grab the bomb, but he's got to clear out 4 players. Admittedly, 2 are tagged up, so potentially room for him to work with.
Yeah, definitely a chance. He has been spotted now, though, and they are really not giving him anything at all. Bomb plant comes in. The gap now begins to close. There's, of course, a very well-timed flank here from Stown that will, take him down. So, very well done from Heroic. Once again, a quick round, at the very least in the beginning, but this time in favor of the opposite team. Really not what MIBR wanted. They sent a message in the pistol, but Heroic have answered back in kind with a stronger message, arguably. The bomb does indeed go down, but if they opt to buy into this, it won't be the best. They are going to go for it, spread the wealth, drop the AK across to Cello, and backed up by 3 Deagles and a MAC-10. But yeah, I'm not so sure. I think Heroic, they're just gambling on the stack. It works out, and MIBR not dealing with them, I would say, with the utility, right? To flush them out, to soften them up, just trying to take the straight up fights. And unfortunately, they're not fighting fair in that kind of scenario, right? Instead of a clean 1-on-1 or whatever that you might be expecting, it's more like a 1-on-3, just because of the way that the angles towards A work. So MIBR biting off way more than they could chew in that last round.
And this time, Borup goes for the early information. Pop flash in, does get traded out. Cello are very aware of the angles, just giving himself a slight bit of elevation to make that work. And 4-on-4 with damage onto Stown. This B-bomb site looking very vulnerable. Bolts with the dunk to finish him off. And all of a sudden, Heroic are scrambling. They've managed to get Nico at least into this bomb site. But the Molotovs and utility will only last so long, and there's still 1 minute and 5 left on the clock. MIBR by no means committed over towards this B bomb site. Heroic completely gambling at this point. They've just started to send Tesses back to try and get some information, but MIBR so smartly have just stalled this play entirely. Over the top of the smoke, Denoco will catch the peeking Nico, and this is falling apart for Heroic.
What a messy start. Goodness gracious. After a nice clean string of rounds from both sides, right? For the most part in map 1. Just seemed to come at different times. This has started off very messy indeed. Bolts with the clean trade, leaves it all onto Tessis. And he is being flanked out indeed. SHZ will take him down with a clean shot in the side of the head. So there you are, MIBR now. Answering back. It is very hard to buy into. Cadian straight away hits that AWP bind and says, we're buying. We're keeping this chaos going.
Battle of the Four Spies, but it never seems to pay off the CT sides. That economy is so skewed one way. You look at that buy now for Heroic. Yes, Cadian's got the AWP. Yes, there's an all gone for it, but there's Deagles, P250s, lacking in the util. It's going to be such a difficult round to make work, and it really hinges on the likes of Borup and Cadian finding opening picks. They need to go big with the AWP and AUG respectively, and Cadian already taking a lot of damage through that smoke. Down to 31 HP. The glass cannon needs that health to make it work. No pick found early on. MIBR happy to sit back and wait for the force fight to come to them. And Heroic, this round's going to be so difficult for them to hold on to. They need a pick sooner rather than later.
Something has to come their way, but I think that's just easier said than done at this point. Oh, it could be Danico. It is indeed. SS will take him down. The flash doesn't really do an awful lot. The shots are true. Able to get away. Nice, clean opener. 50 seconds left to work with here for MIBR. Or Stown gaining a lot of information here as well for the rest of the squad. Nico hidden away at sandbags. He's volleyed out, naded as well, so easily dealt with. It's Stown again. His timing could be everything. He could catch them off guard here with nades in hand, or perhaps round the corner at the perfect time to deny the bomb plant. Something along those lines would be so good. He's very unsure whether there's a player holding off behind though. 20 seconds left. Smokes come in. They've got to make a move. Yell through the smoke will find one. Borup trades back, but immediately dealt with. It's now on to Tessis and Stown. Oh my goodness, if you could see what we could see, landing the tag, go for another. So very close, but not able to get it done. Stown on the backside, though, with a quick double. Surely has sealed this. Cello has to find these remaining Heroic players on 20 HP. The toughest ask so far. His timing just a little bit off. Stown is watching for the flank from Scaffold, but it is not going to come. Oh, and a quick switch away of the crosshair screws him and seals his fate. Heroic will indeed, thanks to Stown, secure round 2.
Tessis made his name as the hero of Overpass. Stown is looking for it here on Vertigo. A huge triple kill coming up that ramp. That late flank that you spoke of paying off beautifully. And buying Heroic their second, keeping this battle of the four spies going. And putting MIBR once again to task. The buy, I mean, you can see the difference in the economies, right? It's so much stronger for your T side. You've got the MAC-10, just one player demoted to pistols, 3 rifles, admittedly no AWP. But it feels like MIBR still plenty of firepower to work with here, and Borup still stuck on that SMG as Denoco quick up this A ramp. Nico scrambling for cover on the A bomb site. Will get back in time, but not without giving up significant map control early on.
Big nades. Nico up close with Stown. Oh my goodness, the CTs rather, just around the corner. The flash comes in. It's not very successful. They lose a couple players, but they trade a couple back. I honestly thought that was going to be even worse. SHC, meanwhile, from the other side as well, causing chaos. Another mental round on the A bomb site. It results in a 2-on-2 and no clear victor as yet, Wolfie.
Just complete and utter chaos. A triple man flash into the A ramp is not something you see every day. Have managed to get bolts onto an AK-47, however, and Stown, not expecting that initial angle, is going to have to retreat off of this fight. Doesn't have the health to work with. Nice pop flash to buy a little more time. Still 45 seconds left on the clock as Borup does make the rotation in. Potentially looking to swap. He actually trying to body block Stown as he does go for this plant now. Balls made over the top should do some damage. Tag down to 47 in the after plant, but again, a little one-dimensional. No hero flank this time for Heroic. They're just going to have to make their way straight onto this site. 2 flashes and a smoke to try and make it happen. And here we go. Pop flash over the top. Deep smoke on the catwalk from the T side. Spamming away at that bomb. Trying to do as much damage as they can. And Yell's found Stown. It's all on Borup now in the 1v2. And nobody's giving him a peek. Nobody's trying to face this AK-47. It's a full 10-second stick and he doesn't want it. He's trying to get out of there with the AK-47. MIBR again will make the force by stick. Will find their 3rd round. And it just keeps on getting worse economically for Heroic.
Yeah, the force buy wars seem to never end. Are they going to keep playing on the Heroic side of things? I think so. There you go. MP9 dropped across. Deagles to back it up and AK as well in play. I sigh because I think this is going to go on for a while before one team finally taps out and allows the other to gain a solid foothold in this first half. But let's see, MIBR clearly the stronger buy into this one. We've had a few rounds where it's close, it's debatable, but they're looking very, very solid right now. Going for a fast B hit. Flash comes over the top. Borup just about able to dip away. Responding with a flash of his own. Oh, and a clean headshot of his own as well. See you later, Cello. 5 on 4. As we'll see whether MIBR can recover things back. The fast B hit so far unsuccessful. Very little control to speak of this B bomb site. Losing another head. Oh! And the crack angle from Stown is so very clean. Borup also chiming in for his 2nd, and I think that will do it. It will indeed. Cadian joining the squad to get a piece of the action. Heroic with a very, very, very clean force buy.
How does this keep working, Scriv? How does it keep happening? They're forcing on forcing on forcing, and it just keeps working. Heroic, I think, finally have got a significant enough advantage to take this one. Just Deagles, 1 MAC-10, 1 AK for MIBR, and it's a very strong full buy, as you said, saving across 3 AKs. 1 M4, the only real sacrifice on Tess's as he drops down onto the MP9 to perhaps facilitate some aggression. And yeah, this is just as scrappy as we expected. Overpass was close and it doesn't look like MIBR are going to let up any time soon. Ramp control looking to be taken by Heroic this time as they're really trying to pile the pressure on. Nico with an early pick towards mid. Jello spotted out at B. They are taking map control away in spades, Heroic.
Oh, Tess only good for 1. I think he's going to kick himself a little bit that he didn't get the 2nd. An awful lot of damage done, of course, and really, really solidifying their man advantage, their HP advantage over everything else. Minute left. It's Cadian. And Borup try and do what they can. Cadian and Nico, excuse me, will creep forwards. Really quieting down here. MIBR once again are struggling to find their way back into rounds once they've been locked out, so to speak. Yeah, I think it was a big issue with their T-side on overpasses. Continues to be one here. Nice little, nearly double spray down for Stown. He comes so very close. I thought surely holding mouse 1 there, he gets another, but not going to be the case. The nade goes in, nearly the double, but surely that's done it. 1v4, 4 HP. I respect the goal to go for it, but unfortunately unsuccessful as Heroic string 2 together. I never thought I'd see the day.
And finally, we get ourselves an eco. I never thought I'd be happy to say those words, but MIBR will finally take the hit. The 2 rounds strung together by Heroic, just a little bit too much for them. Bolts has at least picked up a P250 to try and do some damage. Denoco will grab a Deagle as well, but for the first time we can pause and sort of take a breath in this matchup. Of course, MIBR, I think they really feel they have a point to prove here. After stalling at the last hurdle on overpass, you can really see that they want to scrap. They want to fight this one out. All those force buys back to back, and even now, when they're forced into the eco, still picking up a P250 and a Deagle. Denoco still going to get boosted up on low HP, but that's a beautiful read from Borup. to take that man out early on. The Eagle at least will drop into the hands of Cello, but as Stown takes out the mid control, these numbers are being thinned very quickly. I think Heroic starting to hit their stride just a little bit now.
Yeah, looking very good for them indeed. I think they will be happy to finally be the team to get the foothold, particularly on that CT side, right? If you're being kept back and kept back by continuous force buys and whatnot, it is very, very troublesome indeed. Not going to be the case here, and incredibly advantageous, of course, for Heroic. Worth noting, they're a little more CT-sided recently, I suppose, on their Vertigo. An ever-shifting map for me, it feels like. Not been changed for a while, though, to be fair, so that's usually what causes it, but they've not touched it for a little while here, so starting to develop a bit more. MIBR, they do have a buy, but it's a stringy one. Few smokes, few flashes, that's about it.
Hoping for, and Nico taking advantage of some minuscule gaps in the smoke to open things up. Double peek from Cadian, and Tess says yields yet more blood. Yell is heard wandering through these mollies, through these nades. Tesses will rip his head off with the MP9, and Heroic, as quickly as that buy was bought by MIBR, they've taken it away from them. A super clean A ramp hold, making absolutely no mistakes whatsoever. Cello and Bolts left to try and pick up the pieces. Some frags, I think, at this point, pretty much necessary to try and just stall what is a blossoming CT economy. Otherwise, this half could get very dire very quickly. Borup, for now, a little bit isolated over on B, but Stown has already rotated in to join him, and there we go. Stown finds the pick, leaving just Cello on that ramp. They are not letting MIBR have anything. Heroic pop flashed in. Stown gets his second, and they are starting to shut things down.
Worrisome stuff, MIBR. The gas seems to be running out pretty quickly here on this T side. A pause indeed is required. Yeah, it's hard for them to deal with, I think, to be honest. Heroic, this is what we saw from their CT side and Overpass as well. I just think it's very oppressive. Once they figure out what works, they will keep on doing it until it stops. And MIBR not really able to find an answer so far. And you can argue these early force buy rounds that go back and forth, there's a lot of unpredictability, a lot of chaos. And ultimately, when you're playing with like a looser rule set, let's say, as a team, it's hard to replicate once things become a bit more structured and there's a bit more on the line, so you have to take less risks and play less foolishly, you could say, right? There's a lot of that kind of play with Deagles and whatnot, where you just run in and make plays that you wouldn't usually because they're unexpected. It's very, very hard to replicate that once you pull the rifles out.
Let's see if they can replicate the magic again this time. P250s to work with. Tesses, though, already removing some of them from the equation. A nice wallbang onto Nico, but just not quite able to find the trade. MIBR again queuing up on this A ramp. Feels like a return to the normal meta on Vertigo here. Cadian traded 1-for-1 at least by Yell as he tries to re-aggress. But with just the pistols on the board, needing a little bit more at the moment, the T side. Yes, they've got the map control. Managed to trade at least one of the picks out. If you sit here, you will slowly but surely be whittled away to nothing. Bolts, yeah, it's brought down to just 4 HP. He finds a tag, sure. Without a conversion, they will just sit here and slowly but surely bang down to nothing. And there you go, Stown finds another conversion.
Yell trying to play in and around these headshot angles, but nothing coming for him. Join up with Cello. Try and make things work. Clean little headshot. Okay. And Tesses is low to go for this trade. Half HP. The Deagle's deadly against that. So certainly not cut and dry for the CT side just yet. Tesses with the off angle. Knows they're coming. Sprays preemptively. Takes down Cello and able to deal with Yell cleanly enough as well. Even holding for the crouch peek that's so very common from that angle. So solid stuff. Heroic move up to 7. MIBR come through with another rifle buy, and this one needs to be successful. The first half starting to run away from them.
Double AWP setup brought out on Vertigo. Here we go. This could be an interesting one. Yell's gone for an AWP of his own as well. Normally when we see this sort of setup, I'd expect at least one of these AWPs to be very aggressively peeking somewhere, trying to take map control away. It looks like that call will be over towards B and mid, actually. Cadian going for a little scope in and a wander as well on his AWP. Smoke deep on the ramp to make sure that AWP of Yell cannot get any opening damage. And MIBR at least now held back by the utility.
Really slow going on Vertigo at the moment, which is somewhat unorthodox for me. Used to seeing these aggressive peaks, suppose like this, but no one around for Cadian to get the better of at the moment. Oh, so much information though, and perhaps a pop as well onto Bolts. Yep, indeed, going to take him down. The bomb is right around the corner. How do MIBR react? They're trying to gain some control to make up for that which they have lost. Certainly easier said than done. I really like it from Heroic as well. They're actually moving away from that angle and just giving MIBR the spooks, making sure that they're not, you know, pushing into potentially 4 players or getting bested by a clean flash around the corner. Very smart play from Nico.
Just falling off. Not giving anything away at this point. Already a man up. Tess is on the tight angle as MIBR pretty much shepherded into this A hit now. Plenty of presence here for Heroic. Hot flash in for Tesses. Can't quite line them up. Too many targets. Not enough time. And Borup is caught looking completely the wrong way. Somehow, some way, MIBR have brought themselves back into this one. A man advantage on the retake. And they're in perfect afterplant positions. They really are. A man stuck up the catwalk, someone behind the sandbags, and 2 players on the ramp. Double AWP retake required for Heroic. I think if they don't get a pick soon, this is a done deal. Pop flash is perfect. Cello takes out one and the second, just peeking straight in, make it 3. Cello ripping his way through the A site retake as MIBR are starting to come back into this one.
Still a lot of cash money available for Heroic, though. Some clean victories will allow them to possibly, indeed, get the double AWP set up again. I'm more of a fan this time around. I think sometimes if you pull it out when you don't necessarily need it, it can feel a bit awkward. And you ask yourself why. It's just kind of a case of like, oh, I fancy AWP in this round. You know, do you mind if I pull the secondary one out? Rather than an actual, like, full-on change in the strategy and trying to catch your opponents off guard with something new. Great angle for Borup. My goodness gracious. Cello has no idea what has just hit him. Absolutely love that. And Heroic once again back to their opening frag ways. Borup has to try and fight his way out, though, and that's a little too difficult for him. So very quickly back into a 4-on-4.
MIBR have given up a lot of map control, though. They've fallen all the way into B. They looked like they were going to commit to it initially before that off angle from Borup stalled them in their tracks, and as a result, have to be very cautious retaking this map control, pushing back in towards the A ramp, clearing out where the old forklift used to be. Cadian still lying, lurking on the catwalk with that AWP, not overly committed to the angle, not peeking deep, just waiting for any aggression. Tess is there to back him up. This crossfire could be absolutely lethal. MIBR, they have to be so cautious. And because they've used 2 flashbangs to get into that A ramp, they're a little short on utility. Beautiful wall bangs to bring Tessis down to 45. And that might just start to put an ant in the boot of Cadian. He's holding for now, but there you go. He's got to fall off. His teammates on half HP. They're potentially coming up the ramp. So they'll have to readjust. Now the util comes over the top. Beautiful pop flash. Tessis goes down. And Cadian, he's got to trade so many frags here. He'll find the first, but on low HP as his teammates taken out through the smoke, Cadian will be hunted into this ramp, and I'm not sure there's anything these 2 AWPs can do to stop MIBR getting their 5th round. SHZ, not aware of the deep angle, will at least go down, but there's got to be so much more where that came from, and now Cadian's position is known. Yell will deal with him.
Not the cleanest of flashbangs, unfortunately, but Stown has made his way back around to get the backstab onto Danico. Going to tap the bomb and Yell on the AWP. Well, it's a great angle for the AWP in all fairness, and a difficult one for Stown to deal with here. No kit means very little time. Maximum damage done across to MIBR so far. I mean, even more if you can find the frag here. But unfortunately, the round falls away for Heroic. MIBR continue to move up, continue to close the gap. And this time, yes, indeed, there's still money available to buy. But Heroic starting to feel the burn deep into the coffers to facilitate it. And MIBR with a chance to close the gap, bring the half as close as damn it, and maybe even run away with the lead going into half two.
Third time's a charm for the double AWP setup. This is the third time we've seen it. It's yet to really yield anything. Deep Smoke stops down from his initial peak. Heroic seem very keen on stopping this early ramp control wherever possible. They drop the deep smokes, they buy a little bit of time, then they've aggressed players on numerous occasions. This time, they've completely left mid open. There surely has to be a timer on this CT hold. You can see Stown. He's peering down into the B ramp. There's no mid hold. There's nobody watching his flank. If MIBR just walk out mid, this is essentially a free round. They can backstab wherever they like, and it would be all too easy for them to find this conversion. But for now, at least, they're probing up the A ramp. They're walking into the jaws of the beast. If they continue to do so, I think they could be in for a world of pain.
Yell, trying to spot someone, anyone at this point to just ease the pressure ever so slightly. Nico is close with the nade. It's a nice one, to be fair. 39 points of damage onto SHZ. The MIBR team starting to move up. Cadian finds one, and he is defended by Nico. Defended perfectly. A brilliant squire for his king, and Tessus, meanwhile, also getting wide. Also finding two. Yell caught completely off guard as Tessus finds 3 down ramp. Beautifully done by Heroic. A great team effort, and a clean 8th.
Textbook A-ramp setup there. Cadian goes in, gets the initial pick, falls back to the sandbags, and as the rifle swings to try and get the trade, there lies Nico. Close to the ramp, easy headshot, second kill on the board. And then you've got the AWP in a position where it can anchor and support the rifler on the tight angle. Really nicely worked from Heroic. My only slight reservation was their complete lack of any mid-control, but luckily for them, MIBR did not look to exploit it. They might look to try and exploit it this round, perhaps. Denoco already fast up the ramp. This time, not such heavy resistance from Heroic, falling back into the depths. The site itself as MIBR are just starting to probe their options. Bolt's throwing some utility into mid just to keep Stown busy. Force Heroic to rotate at least a man through the angles. As the rest of the team do again queue up. Again, this A-bomb site is the target. Tends to be the way on Vertigo. One site far more popular than the other. And with 4 players here and a 5th to join shortly, Heroic are going to have a hell of a time holding this A-bomb site.
Yell needs to be careful. They know that he's here. Nice nade in. Tessus meanwhile breaking the silence to find the first, and Borup up close and personal on the smoke gets a double. MIBR once again seem to have met the immovable object that is the Heroic defense, and it is not looking good. I don't think anything's going to give here. Clean little spray down onto Tessus though as he questions his life decisions. Will get traded. All left onto Yell, therefore, with 25 seconds, no bomb, 30 HP, no utility, no head armor even. So he's pretty much screwed is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, I think he realizes saving this for him is not really worth it. In and around the smoke, manages to find a double. That's a lot of damage done, but runs out of ammo and is soft enough for Borup to finish off. Still, finding those 2 frags does keep that economy relatively low. Doesn't matter all that much in the long term because things are looking pretty good here towards the tail end for Heroic.
Yeah, not really sure what those 2 players are doing, playing hot potato with guns on the A ramp with the man left alive, but that's where we were at, and Yell, I'm sure he'll take the statistics. 2 nice picks on the Galil to at least make Heroic rethink some of their ideas, but as you said, money just isn't there for MIBR. It's the last round of the half, so the money isn't of huge concern for Heroic as long as they can get the buyout, which they do achieve with no real issues, then they're happy. And MIBR are in need of some more of their antics. 3 Deags, a MAC-10 and an AK. We've seen this buy before. They need something to connect early if it is to have any success. Again, just queuing up over towards this A ramp, the most common area on Vertigo, is very much like Mirage in the sense you go A until you're fed up with it, then you hit B once, and then you're straight back to A again. But for now, at least, it hasn't been working out too effectively for MIBR. Tess says, looking for this pop flash, it's had mixed results when they've ran it. This time he might just hang on this close angle, and indeed he will. Quick double spray down, looking for more. Cadian behind him, and the trade is 4 for 1 in favor of Heroic. Complete chaos on the A ramp, but it comes up perfectly for the CT side. It's all on bolts. In the 1v4, just a Deagle to work with, and nobody is going to give him anything. Cadian to take him down, double digits as we head into the halftime. Can MIBR pull this one back? We'll find out after the break. Welcome back, everyone, and we join the server with MIBR staring at the cliff edge. 10-5 down, a map behind, all to play for here to keep their hopes of that early victory alive. So close on Overpass. And they take it that little bit further here on Vertigo. To find out, of course, it's me, Wolfie, and Scriv to bring it to you. CT side, never a great place to be, but a huge nade to open things up. Heroic just going straight through it, just swinging into the crosshair, and Tessa's actually able to find the early opening as they continue to keep pushing, aggressing, forcing MIBR back off of this A bomb site, and it's all a ruse. It's drawn at least a few rotations. Sunoco surely doesn't expect this close presence. Stown gets 2, and the ruse is up for MIBR.
That is such a rough pistol. But it seems they've pulled it back to a 2-on-2. It looked like it was all but over, and Nico, well, he says it pretty much is. Sorry, boys, that was a bit of a bait. Nice shots, but unfortunately not going to happen for you today. Goodness gracious. Yell will be absolutely kicking himself, by the way, if he finds those 2 frags in perfect position to do so. They were chunked out, you know, doesn't necessarily need the instant headshots. A few body shots could have done the job. And it's like, oh, okay, we've taken down the flank, the fake, and now we can focus fully on the other side of things. But they have to deal with players from all over the shop while the bomb was going down on B. Absolute pandemonium for MIBR. They're not able to perform well in it. Heroic picking up the pace. This relentless T side of a top-tier team. MIBR will have to adapt quickly, and I'm not sure they will be ready for it. The force buy so far doing nothing for them. Double kill comes through from the UMP of Borup. The bomb goes down. I think they might just opt to save what they have into the next.
At this point, I don't think they have a better choice. Yell taking out Cadian, trying to make it as expensive as possible, but this round is a done deal. No defuse kit, no utility. They're not getting back into that B-bomb site, so keeping a couple of Deagles, some armor behind them to at least make the next round a speed bump that Heroic will have to go over is not a bad call at all. Because as you said, so swiftly into that B-bomb site, not giving those Deagles, all 5 of them, any chance to pick them off at range, just running and gunning, MAC-10s and UMPs to rip the B-bomb site open, and all too easily converted to the 12th for Heroic. And now it starts to get really tight for MIBR. They almost have to concede this 13th bar a miracle, and then with the gap at 8 rounds, just 3 for Heroic to take the 2-0. We spoke about the pressure on Overpass, the pressure of winning. Well, they're in the opposite boat now. The pressure of losing this is slowly but surely mounting up.
Thoughts of the previous map, right? Are they capable of a comeback of heroic proportions?
Oh, no.
Oh no, why has he done that? Why has he done that? Low hanging fruit, mate. And unfortunately I'm criminal for it. So take me to comedy jail if you want, but for now I stand by my decisions. Either way. First frag comes in. God. First frag comes in for Yell. I really shouldn't have done that, to be honest. I think that's lowered your opinion of me, hasn't it?
Just a smidge. lower our opinions of Heroic, not going to happen. Tesses showing us why they are so highly regarded, dealing with SHZ, and again, the Pistols not in a position to do anything about this. They will concede the 13th, maybe look for some damage with Cadian. Well, he wants the AWP, so he's going to try and pop his own finances up. Grabs a quick frag with the MAC-10. Does go down to 2 HP with it, so has to fall off the re-peak, but they're not really fussed about taking these pistols away. They've taken the armor off Danoco as well. They don't know it, but there's no armor remaining on this server for MIBR, and as Stown removes the head of Cello, Bolts will just have a poke, a prod, see if he can maybe bait Stown into hanging around too long and going down with that bomb, but he'll fall instead. 13 on the board. Stown clearly ecstatic about it, and MIBR starting to get towards those last rolls of the dice now. Up in the hands of Yell. Full rifle buy. The first chance they've had on the CT side. But it does feel like it may well be one of their last if they can't start dispatching of these UMPs and MAC-10s that Heroic are bringing to the fight.
Last chance saloon, it feels like, right? And indeed, like you say, now is a very good chance to do so. Borup, though, just bounding in towards B. Goodness gracious. Cello very ready for it, however. Double spray down for him. Call for the rotations. The Galil or MAC-10 still in play, as well as, of course, only 3 players right now for Heroic. Really not making it easy on themselves, but you never know. A cheeky B rush, it might work. We might just catch them off guard and really, really send them packing, but not the case. MIBR not so easily foiled quite yet. Tesses has recovered an AK meanwhile. Oh my goodness, and Bolts gets impatient. Oh yes indeed, could walk straight into his crosshair. That's exactly what has happened. Leaves him low HP. And still, of course, a solid man advantage. Is it a fair trade for the information? We're about to find out. Stown takes down another. Danico out in the open. He needs more than one from here, to be honest. It's such a dangerous spot if he gets traded, but he might not even get the chance to do so. They're opting to drop back towards A. SHZ has to do something here, has to stop them.
Gets it first. Tesses walks right into the crosshairs. The health just isn't there. Nico, he was waiting. He was meant to be the man who catches the rotations. Instead, with 28 seconds left, he's going to go and try and find what damage he can. Heroic did well to find those 2 picks after Cello dismantled the early rush. But now really falling apart for Heroic. It will be a 6th round on the board with 10 seconds left. Nico, a critical decision to make. He's going to try and stick it out with that AK-47. Plenty of cash, of course, on the side of Heroic after such a strong start. Keeping those SMGs up, a little bit of a bonus. Gives them plenty of cash to invest into the next. But for now, at least, the first test of MIBR has been passed.
Very true. Very true. But it is the first test of many. Some harder than others, of course. And this one, well, I would imagine harder than the last. So if they can get past this round, then maybe indeed, you know, you get some confidence rolling. And we have seen stranger things in this series. A very similar scoreline in the previous game that Heroic were able to come back from. So it is doable. The pick of MIBR as well. So it bodes well in that sense. Big nade about to land indeed. Borup chunked out. Nico as well, eating a nice portion of it. Cello with an off angle in and around Hazard. Needs to be careful. Flashes coming over the top, turns away from them, manages to find one, a double spray down, in fact. Beautifully done. He just needs the rest of the boys to step up in the same way. Great little flash to get Bolts off of the angle towards Aircon. Does manage to find one still, though. Great little nade going in to help him out. The teammates now arriving. Not looking good for Heroic. Down goes Stown. All on to Tessus here in round number 20. Clean little headshot onto SHZ. But the bomb is dropped, and I mean, he has information of maybe one other player. Is there someone flanking me right now? Don't quite know, but gets above the smoke. Smart as you like. They have to be so careful not to allow this to fall. Quick headshot onto Bolts, and he brings it down to a 1-on-1. Looking for the ace, but denied away by Danico. Thank goodness for MIBR, but my God, Tessus making them work for it.
He's shown us what he can do time and time again, and he very nearly found the ultimate punishment. MIBR down to the last man, down to Daneco, the new boy, to try and hold on. They do get it across the line, but at what cost? So much economic damage done there by Tesses. Heroic will still be able to buy. You see the sacrifices on this CT side. An MP9, limited utility. They've had to take some really big risks off the back of that. Tesses has potentially opened the door for Heroic to pull it off in this round. Gap's still just 6 down, able to find an opening pick, and yeah, that's the result. The MP9 of Bolts has to try and get aggressive, has to be up close and personal to really work, and with Stown sat back, it's an easy pick to open things up. And let's see if Heroic can work with that man advantage.
Yell could be the difference maker on this AWP. Big gap on the left-hand side. Gets savvy to the push. Spots the head. Oh, but Tessis knows his angles. That is so damn clean. The 5-on-3. Now looking very, very good for Heroic.
Such a strong position to be in, with Stown still lurking down on that B bomb site. It's just SHZ. That's all they've got. He will deal with Borup, and actually the bomb will make its rotation back around. Cello will have his chance again. He's got the first, but Cadian is finally there to trade, and Denoco, they asked it of him once. Can they do it again? Tesses needs to find this kill, and he won't. Denoco on the AUG will find the double spray down. Nico, with 20 seconds left, is thrown into the 1v2. This should have been a dead set round, and now with 11 HP, Nico has got to try and find a surely impossible clutch. Denoco will have his third. And once again, Heroic will not quite get it over the line. Now the nerves start to sneak in for the T side instead.
Tessis jumping the gun, man. He had his bomb out way too early. I think he could have got that trade, or at the very least fought for it from a better position, while he was still adjusting on the other side of things, Denoco. But that's the game. Of course, the beauty of Counter-Strike is that your timing, your decision-making can be indeed everything in both the best and worst scenarios. Huge nade damage coming over towards middle, I believe. It is indeed. And they're not really able to find too much off the back of it because of that. I think a bit timid from Heroic where they were trying to rush in. Cadian, meanwhile, crept in. They're just looking to find, you know, a player who's not fully focused in, maybe catching one off guard. Makes sense, but at the moment not quite happening for them. The first frag going the way of MIBR.
Yeah, CT side still on the ropes economically, so really can't be affording to switch off to give Heroic that pick they're looking for. SHZ is not switching off at all. To continue his antics. Tesses gets run boosted. It's not going to happen. SHZ with 2 more on the spray secures MIBR, excuse me, their 9th. 1 away from the double digits. Starting to reel Heroic in now as well. Lack of an AWP this time for Cadian. I think for me it becomes a question of how much more does Tesses have to do to keep Heroic in this one. Again, the buy isn't great for MIBR. Again, there are sacrifices. It's just a question of can Heroic exploit them again? Can they find that conversion that just seems to be missing from their T side at the moment? Just not quite able to find those final frags to get it over the line. The call's not quite right at the perfect moment. Going to be pot flashed in. He's done so much work over on that B ramp, and again he finds the opening, this time onto Nico. A dink through the wood onto Borup. Tesses meanwhile does manage to find a trade over on A at least, but SHZ is there in response, and 3-on-3. AWP still on the server. Heroic really being forced out from this B bomb site. Cello doing so much work here, they can't really afford to commit.
Also, the fact that the A-bomb site's going quite well for them at the moment, right? So why bash your head against the wall when you've already downed the other flank? Denoco, meanwhile, pushed up at scaffold. They might not expect this. They kind of do, actually. So, clean little peek from Borup. Does well to stay alive. The nade chunking him out a little. And Tessis goes, thank you very much, on a silver platter. Beautiful. Denoco had no idea. And, well, Yell going to get smoked out. 3-on-2 for Heroic. They really cannot afford to lose this in a lot of different ways on the MIBR side of things, but concede it they shall and save the remaining 2 players, leave them alive, make sure they have an AWP into the next round. That's fair, but Heroic, thanks to their super strong start here in the second half, still firmly in control.
Just 2 rounds away from taking the 2-0 as well. Loss bonus I don't think is going to be much for MIBR. It's going to start to get a little bit awkward. At least an AWP and an AUG on the server. They should be able to scramble a buy around it, I think, looking at the economy of the remaining players. Heroic finally stick the landing. Finally, with 3 players alive, they get that 14th round. Now just 2 away. As MIBR, this is the last roll of the dice. If this round goes south, if this goes wrong and they lose all these rifles, the money will be gone. The firepower will be gone and they will be out of time. This is critical for them. They need somebody to show up in a big way. SHZ had a huge map on Overpass. He's been quiet so far on Vertigo. This is his time to start showing up, to start putting his hand up and be counted to prevent his team taking their opening loss of Summit 7. But Denoco, with just an XM, trying to get aggressive, goes down to Tess's early. Make it work. Cello again. Big trade over on the B bomb site. Just seems to have this ramp angle on lock, but his A site teammates are falling slowly but surely. They've actually wrapped him in mid, and I don't think he's all that aware of how many angles he's vulnerable from. Sprayed down through the boxes by Cadian. 4-on-2. MIBR almost forced into this, but make it 1 as Stown is already cutting away the rotations. This is so well played from Heroic. And Yell, with no money behind him, his AWP in his hands, has got to try and hold on to it.
Does find one, gets away from the molly. But they are on the hunt. They are not letting this man get away without a fight, that is for sure. Tesses needs to peek at the right time, and he does. Clean headshot to take him down. AWP recovered as well to boot. And of course, that 15th map and match point here in the Group B opening game. Heroic looking absolutely solid, and I think it's similar to Overpass, where Heroic have got a read. They know how MIBR are playing. Indeed, the B bomb site seems to be a bit of a no-go, at the very least from ramp, from the stairs. So therefore, they've changed things up, they've adapted, and unfortunately, the A side, much less tight-knit, I guess, is the phrase to go with, right? Cello, the one-man army over on B. You see it from time to time. An awful lot that one person can hold down that B bomb site. The A site, however, it's just way too vulnerable at this point. Nice little headshot from Yell to give them a chance into this round. The nades come raining in, and he just about survives. So they have the man advantage, but very loosely.
Got the man advantage. I think the firepower still favouring Heroic, however, as they just back out of that initial contact. Looping back around. Denoco on the tight angle. Don't even see an XM on Vertigo. Makes it work, though. Manages to find the 1-for-1 trade. At least trades his own death well. Keeps his team a man up. Heroic, really only one site they can commit to at this point. It's the one they've been having the most success on, queuing up on that A ramp. HZ looking for the flash, popped into it. Won't spot anyone out just yet. With 40 seconds left, Heroic will be committing to this, and it becomes a matter of timing. Yell already starting to think about that flank. Tess says needs to clear SHZ out of this tight angle, but flashes over the top and making it difficult. Will finally find the frag. That should open things up for the bomb plant unless Nico gets taken down through the smoke, and Cadian has dealt with the flank. There's just 2 bodies remaining, Cello and Bolt. We need a hero play from one of them. Bolt is trying to land it. Cello has found one, and with 12 seconds left, they've got to get this bomb down. Cadian deals with the close player, and it's all on Cello. 1v2, swinging into it, desperate to find anything he can. Cadian's got him locked in, misses the shot, but they're stuck on this bomb site, the T side. At least he's kept them close, but that's not enough. 16-9 will be the final scoreline. It was so close on Overpass. It's a little bit further away on Vertigo. It is Heroic who take the win, but what a performance from MIBR.
Yeah, in all fairness, doing a really, really, really solid job on that first map, to be honest, dictating some of the pace for quite some time. But it seems on both maps, as I kept hammering home, once the change came in from Heroic, bit of a timeout, talk things over, that pep talk, whatever it may be, MIBR just weren't able to kind of counter-strat that and get their way back in. Vertigo, I think a bit too fast for them, super aggressive and really, really well-drilled T-side from Heroic was just too much to deal with in the end.
Yeah, it just looked like a step too far, unfortunately. But I do think it was an incredible performance. We said they could take a map. That would be great. They took 14 rounds on Overpass. They took it right down to the wire. They pushed Heroic to their limits. I don't think you could ask much more than that from them. And it's just unfortunate coming up against such a highly rated team for that 2-0. But we're going to throw it to a break. When we're back, we've got our final game of the day. Virtus Pro coming up against NIP. You don't want to miss it, guys. So we'll see you at 8.